Marvel wants Avengers Doomsday to be just as big as Infinity War. But can a movie that's been rushed hit the same level as one of the best films in the genre? That seems impossible, because the road to Doomsday and Secret Wars is nothing like the build-up to Infinity War and Endgame. That was back when superhero movies were at their peak, and the streaming wars weren't a thing yet. Today, we're taking a look at what Infinity War got right, and how the Russo brothers could do the same thing and make it better in Doomsday. The first key to Infinity War's success was throwing in a bunch of fan-favorite characters and having them interact. That's the magic of Marvel crossovers, seeing all the Avengers teaming up in one epic adventure. The Russo brothers managed to make the movie feel balanced and fun by splitting the Avengers and the Guardians into smaller teams, each with their own missions. Thor, Groot, and Rocket go off into space to forge a new hammer. Iron Man, Spidey, and the rest of the Guardians try to ambush Thanos on Titan, and the rest of the Avengers stay in Wakanda to protect Vision from Thanos' army. This structure made the movie feel huge and epic, but also personal and emotional, because we already knew and cared about all these characters from earlier movies. The Russos didn't need to spend time building up Thor or Iron Man. Other writers and directors had already done that work for them. All they had to do was use those characters well.
Those were the days.
Now it feels almost impossible to repeat that formula. The Guardians and Steve are retired, Tony's dead and buried, Thor and Hulk have lost their spark, Hulk and Spider-Man might not even show up in Doomsday, and the new Avengers and Fantastic Four have only made one cinematic appearance so far. The current MCU lineup doesn't stack up to the original Avengers, but they could still recreate that same feeling Infinity War gave us, thanks to the all-powerful force of nostalgia. Robert Downey Jr. and almost all of Fox's X-Men are already confirmed to return, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get more fan favorites, like Chris Evans playing a variant of Captain America, one of the two childhood Spideys, or even Deadpool and Wolverine. Any one of those would be enough to pack theaters opening weekend, especially now that interest in the multiverse saga skyrocketed after they revealed Doomsday would be a free adaptation of Avengers vs. X-Men. I get that for some people this feels like a cheap trick, like they're trying to make up for the lack of major characters by bringing back heroes from old franchises that weren't even part of the MCU. But this works, and the numbers prove it. Since 2020, only two superhero movies have hit $1 billion, No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine. That's no coincidence. They're both multiverse movies, packed with characters from all franchises, tons of references and cameos, and a lot of nostalgia. If we end up seeing Hugh Jackman's Wolverine shaking hands with Tobey's Spider-Man, Doomsday could make $2 billion just off that one scene, even if the rest of the movie sucks. As long as they don't overdo the nostalgia like J.J. Abrams did in The Rise of Skywalker, Doomsday should do way better at the box office and have a much bigger cultural impact than the original Kang Dynasty plans would have. And it might even hit harder with fans than Infinity War did.
That's bullshit.
They can make up for missing characters like Steve and Tony with fun dynamics between Fox's X-Men and the Avengers. That kind of nostalgia and all the references are things that Infinity War and Endgame didn't have. Even though the build-up to those movies was way stronger, they didn't give us that reliving your childhood vibe, since the MCU was only 10 years old back then. But by the time Doomsday comes out, they'll be tapping into 25 years of Fox's X-Men on the big screen. That alone is gonna help win back fans who checked out after Endgame, because even though the Fox universe ended in a mess, we still remember the good stuff, like X-Men 2, Logan, or Days of Future Past, which were all awesome. Is there any superhero movie fan out there who doesn't want to see Magneto and Professor X together again? And this can be more than just a marketing trick to cover up for the lack of planning. Using nostalgia can actually help tell a better story. If the Russos had to bring in a bunch of new universes with brand new characters, they'd need to spend at least half an hour just setting up each group so we get to know them. And even then, it wouldn't be enough to make us care. We wouldn't cry if they died, and we wouldn't feel feel anything if their universes were about to be destroyed by an incursion. But by bringing back Fox's X-Men, they skip all that setup and jump straight into the action. Most of the audience already knows the characters and the actors who play them, so they might just add a quick scene to introduce the team for anyone who hasn't seen those movies, and that's it. Plus, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will side with the X-Men when it's time to pick which universe should be saved. Let me know in the comments if you're Team X-Men or Team Avengers.
Don't tell me what to do.
The second reason Infinity War was such a hit was because of the stakes. The best part of superhero crossovers is feeling like the characters' lives are in danger the whole time, and that there is a lot on the line. From the very start of Infinity War, it's clear that the entire universe is threatened because Thanos wants to wipe out half of it. That turned the movie into a race against time to stop the purple guy from getting all the stones. Sure, the movie had a few jokes here and there to ease the tension, but we still felt like the heroes could lose at any moment. And the movie ends with the heroes losing for real. In the last scene, we see half of our favorite characters disappear after Thanos snaps his fingers. I still remember the feeling of anxiety and shock both times I saw this in theaters. There are even videos of people crying after watching Spider-Man die. The scene was really well done, but on the way home, we all realized that the heroes who were snapped away have gotta come back somehow. Sony had already announced another Spider-Man movie coming out after Endgame, and nobody believed that Black Panther and Doctor Strange were gone for good, since they were two of Marvel's most popular characters. We didn't know how they were gonna fix things, but it was obvious that the fallen heroes would be back in Endgame. That didn't mean the snap was any less devastating, but Doomsday could take it up a notch. Right off the bat, this movie has bigger stakes than Infinity War, cause now the whole multiverse is in danger. According to the official synopsis, Doctor Doom is gonna unleash a cascading crisis across the entire multiverse. That sounds a bit abstract, and no one really felt anything during that flashback where Kang was destroying a whole universe just for fun. But if Doomsday shows a bunch of familiar universes getting invaded and wiped out or reshaped by Doom, then we're really gonna feel it. Just imagine if Tobey Maguire's universe is wiped out in the second act of the film. The sense of danger will be way higher than it was during Infinity War or Endgame. On top of that, Doomsday is gonna have an even bigger cast than Infinity War, with more superhero teams and more villains. The plot makes it possible for Doom to bring together a squad of evil Avengers who want to protect the multiverse no matter what. We might get to see Chris Evans playing Captain Hydra, Maestro Hulk, or even the superior Avengers that Doom recently formed in the comics. Any of those villains would be way more eye-catching, interesting, and memorable than Thanos' Black Order. Those guys worked for the story and looked cool, but no one remembers half their names now. But I'm sure an evil Captain America or Onslaught would leave a lasting impression. That's gonna make Doomsday feel like Marvel's ultimate event, cause in terms of scale and stakes, that storyline is gonna be bigger than Infinity War. And it gets even better. There will be real long-term consequences. Obviously, the Fantastic Four, the sad Avengers, and the not-so-young Avengers aren't gonna die, cause Marvel wants to use them after Secret Wars. But since this is a multiverse event, they can sacrifice characters from other universes. Just like they brutally killed off Johnny in Deadpool and Wolverine, they could have Professor X or Magneto die at the hands of Doctor Doom. That would make us truly hate the guy, and also make people so emotional they wanna hit the theaters opening night. It would give Doomsday a strong cultural impact. Like, this could be the movie that kills your childhood, in a good way. These consequences could stick, cause Marvel might not bring back the X-Men or Tobey Spider-Man like they did with the blipped heroes in Endgame. We'd have to go to the movies not just to see these characters again, but to maybe say goodbye for real.
Please don't say that.
Of course, there's the issue of killing characters people love and fans getting mad. Imagine going to the theater to see James Marsden's Cyclops again, and they kill him off for the second time. They might chicken out and go the Spider-Verse route, where a few major variants like Ben Reilly got killed off. But because of the backlash, they later said those weren't the real versions of the characters, so fans wouldn't get upset. But there's a chance Marvel might have the guts to kill off some characters for good. The equivalent of Tony's death and Steve's retirement could be the final goodbye to the Fox X-Men, Andrew Spider-Man, or Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Any one of those deaths would raise the stakes even higher than Infinity War did back in the day. The third key to Infinity War's success was the villain. In just 2.5 hours, the Russo brothers turned Thanos into the best villain in the entire MCU and one of the best villains in movie history, all thanks to a really good script written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. They made quite a few changes from how he was in the comics, but they turned Thanos into a compelling villain who actually thinks he's the hero. He's a tragic character who doesn't enjoy hurting people, but he feels he has to save the universe. I know some people say Thanos is the protagonist of the movie and the Avengers are technically the antagonists, but that's a discussion for another day. What matters now is that Doctor Doom could be way better than Thanos. I'll admit it would have been way better to introduce Victor before the big multiverse event that's gonna change everything forever. I would have loved to see Doom interact with the Fantastic Four from Universe 828, or to get his full origin story in a solo movie, adapting Books of Doom. That film would have made more money than the first and only Joker movie. But even if Kevin Feige didn't take the time to build up Doom like they did with Thanos, there's no denying that Victor is a way bigger villain. It's not just that he's got better stories in the comics, that he killed Thanos in 2 seconds, or that he's the best villain in Marvel Comics. All of that is true, but the key is, Doom is way more well known than Thanos, even among people who've never read a comic.
Is that so?
Feige had to throw Thanos into a bunch of post-credit scenes just to get people curious enough to look him up on Wikipedia and figure out who the heck that purple guy was. When he first showed up in the post-credits of the Avengers, 9 out of 10 people had no idea who he was. Only comic book fans knew him, and even then, he wasn't that big of a villain in the comics. Doctor Doom, on the other hand, is already well known and has way more potential. Victor's shown up 3 times in live action, and he's had major roles in animated shows and video games. Before the MCU, your mom had no idea who Thanos was, but if she sees a picture of Doctor Doom, she'll recognize him because he's one of the most iconic villains in all of fiction. Marvel's not using some random, unknown character as the face of Doomsday. This is a villain everyone knows, so it won't feel forced at all to see him believe he's the main character of the movie and think he's the hero, because in the comics, Doom always sees himself as the good guy. Sure, that might feel a little repetitive, since we saw something similar in Infinity War, but if they add in some flashbacks showing Doom's origin, they could build the best supervillain in the history of comic book movies. And if you throw in the fact that he's gonna be played by Robert Downey Jr., you've got the perfect combo to get both hardcore fans and casual moviegoers hyped to see Dr. Green with envy. This has never happened in the MCU before, because no Marvel villain has ever had the kind of star power to grab this much attention, not even Thanos.
I'm the best.
No one rushed to the theater opening weekend just to see how the Russos were gonna fit him into the franchise, or because they were dying to see Josh Brolin's performance. Don't get me wrong, Thanos was a great surprise, but people are way more anxious to see Doctor Doom than they ever were for the Mad Titan. If the Russo brothers handle the character well, and Robert Downey Jr. doesn't just play Iron Man in a different outfit, they could reach the same level that Christopher Nolan did with the Joker in The Dark Dark Knight. They could get people to care more about the villain than the hero, and make audiences show up just to see how RDJ brings Doctor Doom to life. And I know what you're thinking. Casting Robert Downey Jr. as Doom was a bad move and a desperate play by Marvel, but it's the best decision Feige has made in the last 5 years, and I explain why in this video.